We witnessed courage among one another as we shared those stories of self that Rosemary told you about. Most of these stories didn't glory in our strengths, but in our vulnerabilities and in the trials that we have endured. Things like bullying, addiction, poverty, obesity, failure, immigration, racism. We were shaped by these struggles, but not defined by them. We told how at our best, they made us more compassionate, more patient, kinder, more bent toward justice. We also shared stories of risk that were met with a sense of accomplishment. Jumping off a cliff, literally. Taking a year off of school. Publishing your own writing. Breaking from others' expectations. Starting a business or a nonprofit. The Public Matters class of 2017 is a courageous bunch of human beings, and I am humbled to be counted among your number. In our time together, we learned about a generation of courageous leaders who shaped the vision and beat the path for a revitalized Lowell. Many of our meetings were held in the very buildings that had been abandoned after the departure first of the textile mills and then Wang Computers. We learned about people like Paul Songus and Pat Mogan and Sandy Walter, who saw possibility in Lowell when most others saw only decline. Those people put their influence and their reputations on the line to bring in the resources for Lowell's turnaround. Without courage and risk-taking a decade ago, half of our Public Matters class wouldn't be in Lowell today. And the other half, the half who were born here, probably would have left for better opportunities. We know that public service, even in the best of times, is a difficult and thankless vocation. And so we are grateful as a class for the people who serve on every level. We especially celebrate the courage of those who took great personal risk to believe and invest in Lowell when her future seemed bleak. We also heard courageous stories of immigrants and refugees, small business owners and newcomers to Lowell. Their stories helped us to understand and to name what must be next for our city if we are going to build on the foundations laid by a previous generation. We are proud to call Lowell home, but we believe that Lowell can be more hospitable to new residents, to university students, to young adults, to the LGBTQ community. We love the diversity of Lowell, but we recognize that that diversity has not made its way into the circles of political and economic power. We want to build a city that is inclusive of immigrants and people of color at every level. Some of this work is personal. It requires us to get out of our comfort zones, to see people that we might otherwise overlook, to listen to and empathize with their stories. It takes courage to move beyond the familiar. Some of this work is social. It means building networks for newcomers to understand civic engagement and to access the halls of power. Public Matters has been such an important step in that direction. But we also can see that more is needed. Those who are already on the inside must actively invite and nurture immigrants, artists, the young, the blow-ins, the unconventional thinkers. Those on the inside must invite them and nurture them to have a seat at the table. It takes courage to invest in the unknown. Some of this work is also political. Those who believe in a a more inclusive Lowell must organize, must advocate, must confront structures and systems that are designed to perpetuate the status quo. The system will recoil. It takes courage to persevere in the face of resistance. Most of us in the class of 2017 don't think of ourselves as particularly political folk. We're engineers, planners, middle managers, program coordinators, bankers, business owners, parents, partners. Most of us wouldn't claim to be particularly courageous. We're just trying to live lives that we can be proud of in the city that we call home. But we are all convinced that this city should be a good, safe, and prosperous home for everyone who lives here. This is not a new vision for Lowell. It is so old, but it still has to be moved forward. After 6 months of sharing our stories, learning Lowell's history, and hearing from its residents, I am convinced that my classmates have the courage to shape a more inclusive and a more hospitable Lowell. We will do it. Thank you.